I heard the sound around midnight soft, like something falling. I thought it was the old pipes again until I stepped out into the hallway and felt the cold draft. The basement door was open. I never leave the basement door open. My flashlight caught the edge of something on the bottom, stared at, fresh. I descended slowly, each step creaking like a warning. When I reached the last stair, I froze. In the center of the floor, where I'd stored nothing for years, was a shallow grave, half dug, and sitting up in it was a body, male, pale, eyes wide open, and smiling directly at me. I didn't scream. I wanted to, but I didn't. The smile wasn't peaceful, it was stretched, almost broken, like it had been forced. I backed away, but something crackled under my foot. A photograph, old, faded. It showed me, as a child, standing in front of this same basement door, with someone's hand resting on my shoulder. Someone I didn't recognize. I called the police. They arrived fast. Detective Noor was quiet, methodical. She didn't ask if I killed him. She just stared at the body for a long moment and whispered, "I've seen this before." I asked what she meant, but she only replied, "Tell me everything you remember about this house." I told her I moved back 3 weeks ago after my father passed. I inherited the place. I never liked the basement. He always told me never to go down there. Spiders, he said once, but I remembered more than that. I remembered screams. I remembered waking up as a child with dirt under my nails. And I remembered my dad burning something in the fireplace on cold, still nights. "I need you to come with me," Detective Noor said. Now, her tone wasn't a request. We drove to the city archives. She pulled out a manila folder from a locked cabinet labeled Cold Cases, -1987. Inside were 5 photos, 5 bodies, all half buried, all smiling. One of them was the man from my basement. "They all have the same scar behind the left ear," she said. "Your guy does too. Almost surgical, like someone was cutting out something important." A janitor poked his head in and said, "You have 5 minutes." Noor swore. "Look," she said. "Your father, what did he do for work?" "He was a counselor," I replied, "for troubled kids." "Did he ever mention a boy named Henry Vale?" "No, but the name, it rattled something in my brain. Something buried." She handed me a second photo. A boy, maybe 12, with hollow eyes and a stitched-up mouth. "That's Henry. He vanished in 1987 from this neighborhood, and you were the last child seen with him." "That's impossible. I don't remember that." "You were 6. Your testimony was conflicting. But now he's back, dead, in your house." "I didn't kill him," I whispered. "I couldn't have." Then explained the basement wall. "What wall?" We rushed back. The crime scene techs had unearthed something behind the brickwork. A sealed-off room. Inside were toys, children's shoes, a cot, and a mirror. On the mirror, written in something red, were the words, "He made us smile." "Wait, what just happened?" I muttered. "Is this some kind of setup?" Then one of the officers ran up. "Ma'am, you need to see this." From under the floorboards, they pulled another body, and this one was labeled. A bracelet on the wrist, Henry Vale. But it wasn't the same man who'd been smiling in the grave. Detective Noor stared at the second corpse, her voice low. "Then who the hell did you bury first?" The coroner confirmed it within hours. The second body was definitely Henry Vale. Same DNA as the missing kid from 1987. Same stitched-up mouth. But the first body the smiling one. No ID, no prints, no dental match, no missing persons reports, like he never existed. Detective Noor was pacing my living room. So we have two corpses, one known, one ghost. Both buried in your basement. Both somehow connected to a serial case from decades ago. And your father was the common link. I shook my head. He wasn't a killer. Maybe not. But he was hiding something. And you were part of it. That night, I had the first flashback. I was in the basement, small, maybe 5 years old. My father was shouting. Someone was crying behind the wall. I wasn't scared. I was laughing. I saw a hand reach out through a crack in the bricks, nails torn. Grasping for my hand, I patted it gently like a doll. Then my father turned to me and said, "No more smiling, or he'll come back." I woke up sweating, dirt under my fingernails. Again, I raced downstairs. The hole was filled in. No sign of either body. Just the toys and mirror, and the words had changed. You remembered, I called Noor. She was already on her way. I ran background on your father, she said as she walked in. Before he was a counselor, he was a surgical resident. Dropped out in '86. Cited mental health decline. Right after Henry disappeared. I don't remember any of this, I said. You blocked it. Maybe to protect yourself. Or maybe, she paused, to protect him. One of the techs brought in a new discovery. A tape recorder found behind the wall. The label read, Session 9, HV. We played it. My father's voice, calm and steady. Tell me, Henry, why do you keep smiling? A child's voice. He said, if I stop, I'll be next. My father again, who said that. Silence. Then the sound of metal dragging on concrete. And the child whispered, the man in the mirror. Noor stopped the tape. Okay, that's not a metaphor. I've seen this before. Cases with no logical trail. Kids who vanish near old basements. And always a mirror. I asked her, are you saying this is supernatural? I'm saying there's a pattern. And your house is the center of it. Time was ticking. The coroner called back. You need to see this, he said. We drove to the morgue. He lifted the sheet over the smiling man. His facial muscles are severed. See here, precise cuts forcing the grin. But this, he pointed to a small circular scar behind the ear. This was removed. What was? I asked. His pineal gland. The lights flickered. The body twitched, and then the phone rang. It was from my father's old landline, the one disconnected. Years ago, I answered. A child's voice whispered, he's not dead. You just buried what he left behind. The phone went dead, but the voice echoed in my ears like a curse I couldn't unhear. Noor yanked the receiver from my hand and called her tech team, tracing the source. No active lines from that number. The house phone is disconnected. Dead. Wire. She looked at me. Did you recognize the voice? I wanted to say no. I wanted to lie. But I couldn't. I think it was me, I whispered. As a child, we returned home in silence, and when we entered the basement, the mirror was gone. In its place was a doorway, no bricks, no dust, just an impossibly black frame stretching down into a narrow hallway that hadn't existed the night before. The floorboards around it were warped, like the wood itself had been trying to seal. The path shut. No, oh, I raised her weapon. I'm going in. Are you insane? We don't get second chances in cases like this. And if your past is down there, we need to face it before someone else ends up smiling. The hallway was lined with mirrors, each one cloudy, distorted. In every reflection, I saw myself at a different age, 6, 12, 15, bleeding, crying, smiling. In one, my reflection turned its head and looked straight at me. I looked away. We reached the end. A small room, square, lit by a flickering overhead bulb. In the center sat a chair, and on it 80 VHS tape labeled, "He chose you." We played it. The footage was grainy. My father sat facing the camera, voice cracking. They call it the smile room. It doesn't feed on blood. It feeds on memory. It marks a child, waits until they forget, and then it comes to collect. But I stopped it. I gave it others. I taught the children to smile so it wouldn't take them. Noor shut the tape off. He sacrificed kids to this thing. I stepped back, horrified. No, no, he was protecting me or grooming you to take his place. Suddenly, the mirrors around us shattered one by one. The sound of scraping. Metal returned, louder this time, from deep within the walls. A voice hissed, "Smiles are promises. You broke yours." We ran. The hallway was longer now, twisted, shifting. Noor's flashlight died. In the dark, I could hear something breathing. Beside me, something crawling, backwards, with jointless limbs and broken laughter. And then a memory slammed into me. I was in the mirror room as a child, my father holding my hand, a boy strapped to the chair, smiling, crying, my father whispering, "You have to choose now, him or you. If you smile, it'll take him." And I had smiled. Back in the real world, I fell to my knees. I gave it Henry. I chose to smile. Noor pulled me up. "It's not too late, but it wants something again." "What?" She handed me her phone. A new message had just arrived. No sender, no number, just words. "Smile, or Noor dies." Noor stared at the message, unreadable. "Is this a game?" she whispered. "No," I said. "It's a deal. That's how it works. The smile room always demands a choice. Someone to take, someone to let go. I chose Henry back then. I thought it was make-believe. I didn't know it would remember." "Then don't choose me," she said calmly, but I could hear the panic rising under her control. "I won't," I said. "Not again." We bolted up the stairs, only to find the basement door closed and sealed behind rusted chains that hadn't been there minutes before. A low groan echoed through the walls, like an old house stretching in pain. I touched the handle, it burned. Noor's phone buzzed again. 10 minutes. That's when she asked the question that shattered the last illusion. "Did your father ever die?" "What? You said he passed 3 weeks ago. Where's the body?" I buried him myself." "Where?" I froze. I couldn't remember. Not the casket, not the funeral, not a single tear. Just a knock at the door, a letter, a key, and the house waiting, she knew. He's still here, somewhere. And if he made the original deal, maybe he can unmake it. We tore through his old study upstairs, smashing through drawers, until I found it, a journal, bound in leather, no title, just dates, pages and pages, of names each, one followed by a child's drawing. Stick figures, smiling, dated logged. Noor found the last entry. Her name, dated today. Then a floorboard creaked behind us. We turned, and there he stood. My father, same glasses, same voice. "I told you never to come back here. You're dead," I said. He smiled. "No, I paid for that privilege. But you broke the chain." "What are you?" Noor demanded. He looked at her. Collateral. Then he turned to me. You left the room open. You remembered it only needed one crack. And now it wants to smile again. Wait, what just happened? The house shook. From every mirror in the hallway, hands began crawling through thin, grey, with jagged smiles drawn across palms like mouths. They dragged themselves out with impossible speed, encircling Noor. I screamed, "Take me," not her, but my father. Raised a finger. You already chose once. The room doesn't take volunteers. It demands sacrifice. Then Nora locked eyes with me. Flashback now, she whispered. What? That's how it works, right? Memory is the key. Show it something real. I stepped forward, staring into the cracked mirror beside me. I forced the memory forward a night when my father failed. He tried to give it a girl no, but she fought, screamed, and I had pulled her away. That night, the room didn't get to smile. The mirror rippled. A voice, clearer now, almost amused. 2 smiles. One must break. And then everything stopped. Noor was gone. Not taken, just gone. Vanished like breath in frost. Only her phone remained, vibrating with a new message. You smiled again. We saw. Noor was gone, but not in the way people vanish. There was no blood, no struggle, no scream. 1 second she was beside me, clutching her phone, and the next she was simply erased, like she'd been edited out of reality. The mirrors were quiet now, the hallway gone. My father was still there, watching me with that patient, broken smile. You never learned, did you? He said softly. I lunged at him, fists trembling, but my hands passed through him like smoke. He shimmered, flickered, and vanished, just like a knoll, and then I heard a voice, not out loud, inside my skull. A child's voice again, time to remember. The third one. What third? I said aloud, but I already knew. The memory hit me like a scream underwater. I was 8. My father had brought home a boy named Caleb, quiet, nervous, with a bruise behind his ear. He didn't smile much. My father hated that. He sat us both down in front of the mirror and said, "Only one of you gets to leave," Caleb begged. I laughed. I smiled. I never saw him again. I ran to the attic, my father's real office, the one he kept locked until the day he died. I smashed through the door with a fire poker. Inside were hundreds of photos, pinned to the walls, all of children, all with that same forced, dead grin. In the center was a blown-up mirror, covered with tape and black ink, but something underneath pulsed. I ripped the tape off. It wasn't a reflection. It was alive, fed of another basement. No, I sat there, gagged. Alive, the screen flickered, and behind her I saw something tall, jointless, wearing a stitched skin mask and dragging a grin-shaped knife across the walls. It carved the same message again and again. He smiled first. I fell back, heart hammering. Then I noticed ITD journal was missing. The one that tracked the children. I checked the floor, the desk, but it was just gone. The mirror feed shifted. A new room, one I'd never seen but somehow knew. The wallpaper was blue with stars, a twin bed, a child's bookshelf, and in the corner, curled up, was me, younger, terrified, holding something in my lap. The journal. Wait, what just happened? I whispered, then the mirror cracked and blood began to leak from the edges of the frame. I touched it and was pulled forward, threw it into that room. I turned and there I was, at 8 years old, holding the journal like a lifeline. You kept it, I said to the boy. He didn't look up. He whispered, I had to. If I forgot, he'd make me smile again. Where's Noor? He looked up then, and he had no mouth. Just a sewn line. Suddenly the lights cut out. A countdown began booming, echoing, 5 minutes. One of you stays. The boy looked at me, and I knew what the room wanted. I was facing my younger self, and it would only release Noor if one of us stayed behind in this purgatory of memory and regret. I'm not doing this again, I said. I won't sacrifice anyone else. You already did, the child said through his stitches. Then Noor screamed. Her voice echoed through the mirror walls. Choose now, or it chooses. Both. The countdown echoed like a heartbeat through the walls, for minutes. I turned to my younger self, my mouthless doppelganger, still holding the journal like a sacred object. I could feel the room watching, weighing, hungry for the same old bargain. I'm not leaving you here, I said, stepping closer. You already did, the boy whispered, though his lips never moved, and you'll do it again. The mirror beside us rippled. Noor's image returned bound, sweating, eyes flicking side to side. The creature behind her dragged something, sharp across the floor, scraping lines that began to form a smile beneath her. Noor, I shouted. She looked straight into the mirror. Don't choose me, she mouthed. End it. Suddenly, the child stood up. In his hand, the journal opened on a blank page. The ink bled upward, forming my name. Then below it another name appeared, Nurby pending. No, I growled. I won't let you do this. The boy tilted his head. You already wrote her name? I didn't. He stepped back into the shadows. You will. That's how this ends. 3 minutes. I looked at the journal. Something clicked. The entries, the dates, the order. They weren't just victims. They were choices, sacrifices that fueled this twisted machine of memories and mirrors. Then came the flashback. Not a fragment, but everything. I saw my father, older, exhausted, dragging his own brother into the basement. It's not murder, he whispered. It's protection. If I feed it just one, I keep the rest safe. I was 9, watching, learning. He handed me the blade. Your turn. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I smiled, and then he said the line that echoed through everything. The one who remembers must pay the debt. 2 minutes. That was the key. Remembering didn't save you. It condemned you. I turned to the child. You're not me. Yes, I am. No, I said. I'm what was left after. You're the guilt. You're the one that smiled first. I didn't bury you. I split from you. The walls shook. Noor's voice screamed again. Do it. The boy lunged, but I was faster. I grabbed the journal and stabbed it into the mirror wall. It shattered. Light poured in. Everything gone in a blink. No blood. No room. No basement. I opened my eyes. Daylight. I was standing in my hallway. Alone, the basement door sealed shut. Police sirens in the distance. Noor's voice on the radio. This is Detective Noor. I'm on my way to pick up the witness. He's awake, but my phone buzzed. One message, no number, just words. One smile left. Choose wisely. Then I looked down. In my hand was the journal, and on the next blank page, a new name was already forming. Mine. The journal was warm, in my hand pulsing, like it had a heartbeat of its own. My name inked across the page, still wet, still shifting like it didn't want to settle. I stared at it, willing it to vanish, to undo the curse it carried. But the room had made its decision. Then came the knock at the door. It wasn't the police. It wasn't Noah. It was me, or someone who looked exactly like me. Same eyes, same clothes, same wound on the palm from where the journal had cut me. But his smile, it stretched too wide, too perfect, as if it had been sewn into his face. "Time's up," he whispered. "You remembered. That makes you the next gate." I stumbled back. "You're just another trick. A hallucination." He stepped inside anyway, tracking soot across the floor like he'd crawled up from some furnace beneath the world. "You broke the cycle when you destroyed the mirror. The room can't feed anymore, but it still exists, and someone has to hold it shut." I grabbed a kitchen knife, my hands shaking. "I'm not dying here. Who said anything about dying?" He said, "You're not food anymore. You're furniture, the new foundation. That's the cost of closing the door. You become the lock." Then I heard Noor's voice, muffled, distorted, distant. I turned toward it, and the world shimmered. I was back in the basement, only it was reversed. The walls were wrong. Everything upside down. Noor was on the other side of a mirror, pounding her fists against it, blood in her teeth. "You have to choose," she screamed. "Don't let it trick you again." The smiling version of me stood beside her now, hand pressed to the glass. We all smile in the end. It's the only face the room understands. And behind him, the creature crawled from the dark long limbs, stitched eyes, dragging every name from the journal like chains behind it. Then came the final flashback. It wasn't a memory. It was a warning, my father, whispering as he held me in that chair as a child. "One day, when the room runs out of names, it'll come for the ones who fed it. For the smilers, for us. And when it does, the only way out is in." The room was collapsing. I had seconds, and then I saw it, a crack in the mirror. A way out, but only if someone stayed. Noor reached toward me from the other side. "You have to break the smile," she said. "Yours, his, choose." Hook and cliffhanger with twist. I looked at my reflection. Then I smiled, and so did he. And that's when I understood he wasn't me. He was the first boy, Henry, the one I'd sacrificed, smiling, because now, finally, it was my turn. The mirror shattered, everything went white. And then Noor woke up in her car, outside the house, alone, journal gone. The house empty, only a mirror on the wall remained, and in it, just faintly, I was still smiling.